Day 18 of the Ukraine war, and to discuss the latest developments, I'm joined by General Sir Richard Barrons, former commander of Joint Forces Command. And let's start by looking at the west of Ukraine, because there has been a strike on a military base in Yavoriv, which is very close to the Polish border. Richard, why the significance of this military base?
So this is an illustration of the Russian military expanding their campaign further into the west of Ukraine to do two things. One is to inhibit the Ukrainian Air Force's freedom of action, and the other is to intercept the flow of weapons and other supplies coming out of the west into Ukraine and then on to where the fighting is further in the east.
Now, that is a military base which is just 6 miles from a border with a NATO country. How accurate are these Russian missiles, particularly if they're coming from a long way away?
So we believe in this case there were 30 missiles fired over the space of an hour, and whether they came from an aircraft or a ground launcher, if they were cruise missiles, they'd be accurate to between 5 and 30 metres. So there was no real danger of them hitting NATO territory.
Let's look at the south of Ukraine then, because we know there's been continued fighting around the besieged city of Mariupol, of course on that land corridor between Mother Russia over in the east and Crimea, which Russia occupied in 2014. And we've got some satellite images that show some of the fighting. These have come from Maxar. This is before the strike on a residential area. Keep a look at these buildings down here. And then after the strike, you can see the damage on the next image. And Richard, what is the significance of this kind of attack?
So the significance of this is a very clear example of using a lot of firepower, artillery, against a residential area to damage buildings and kill the civilian population, create terror. That is not an accident.
And finally, let's look at a map of Kiev then, because we know that there's been a continued build-up both from the east and the northwest, and also from the west too. They are surrounding the city. Can they do it with the forces they have?
So we're shaping up for by far the biggest fight of this war so far. Kiev is about 320 square miles. The Russians maybe have in total perhaps 60,000, 70,000 soldiers. When they attacked Berlin in 1945, used 1.5 million soldiers. So they're going to have to make some choices about what they do. Do they simply lay siege to the city? Do they attack on a narrow access? Or do they do what they've done in other places and try and destroy it and then walk in?
And, of course, these supply lines are getting longer and longer and more vulnerable to attack from other ambush units.
Yes, of course. The Ukrainian military will know that they can squeeze the Russians at all points between the border and Kiev.
General Sir Richard Barrons, thank you very much. And we will be taking a look at this through the afternoon as the Russians move further into Ukrainian territory.